Okay, I guess I'm here. Don't really need to get too ready, but here I am. I'm back. It's been half a month again because I have no sense of time or place, I guess. Why is closed captions disabled? Oh, it's because I have no clue how to set it up. I'll have to set up the closed captions later, I think. But I realized this would be super helpful for a lot of people. So I went ahead and downloaded this thing that's supposed to help with closed caption. Oh, okay, cool, got it working. So it's been a while. I've been busy, been very busy doing the busy things. And I'm finally back in a place where I can probably stream regularly. Now it's just a matter of not being lazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some more streaming, hopefully unwind. Work is starting back up, much to my chagrin. And I figured unwinding with some cool painting would be cool. And right now, I'm working on the Tyranids from Leviathan, because I figured that I have them, I really want to paint them, and I've got a scheme that I think is going to look really good on them. This guy is about 2/3 done. They're actually not going to end up being purple and red like he is right now. I'm going to dry brush grays leading up to whites for the bone carapace, and I'm probably going to re-dry brush some red onto his fleshy bits, because I want them to look more like the Phyrexians from the most recent Phyrexian related set from Magic the Gathering, which was, I believe, Phyrexia All Will Be One, because I think it's just a really neat look. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working on that. I was just about to actually crack open my wet palette, which hasn't been used in a while, but I don't think I'm going to need it much for this because most of it is dry brushing. And dry brushing is mainly done on a non-wet palette surface. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and freshen up the wet palette just to give it some moisture, because it's been like a half a month since I've treated it at all. But what I'm actually going to do is continue working off of a fairly heavily painted paper towel that I have over in the corner that will not quite absorb all the water, but at the same time it will push off most of the water paint. It'll push off most of the paint, which will allow me to get a fairly effective dry brush on the guy. So we're going to start with, I think, a gray, and then I'm going to move up to a white. And I think, unfortunately, the gray that I own is close enough that it's going to appear white on the stream, and then it will, but it will contrast very nicely with the white highlight that I'm going to go to. And that's actually why I did this wash. This was a wash, not a contrast paint. The whole idea was to get the heavy shadows in this nice dark purple. So hopefully what'll end up happening is that once it goes through the gray and then the white, is it'll create these nice deep shadows, but will also allow for some really bright highlights. So let's go ahead, give that a shot, see what this gives us, because I actually haven't done this this model this way before. I haven't done this paint scheme. So go ahead and get some gray, get it on the dry brush, and let's see. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and just very gently, very lightly use this on. This might actually be a little too big for what I'm working on. Use this very lightly on top of the bone, and hopefully what will happen is in the darker areas it will still keep that purple undertone, and that will allow it to have that nice shadow underneath the bone white that this will eventually be highlighted up to. It seems to be working pretty okay. And again, I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on this. I don't want this to penetrate too deeply into the bone. I just want it to have a decent covering over the entire thing, right? So let's go ahead and continue working along here. And yeah, I kind of like the dark purple blue undertone that this is getting. And this should work really nicely once I get some actual white on there. But the shadows are given a much better color than just a black. And the other bits are going to be covered real nicely by the white highlight once I get the white highlight on here. And it's probably going to be too bright even for the camera to really pick up. Hey Borak, nice to see you. I can't, am I Borak XJWX? Yeah, there we go. I just started. There aren't very many people on here, but good evening to you. Yep, just going over these guys. I accidentally painted them Hive Fleet Leviathan without realizing it because I forgot Hive Fleet Leviathan. Thank you. Borak is perfect. I'll remember that, hopefully. But I wasn't going for Hive Fleet Leviathan. I'm actually painting them to look like the Phyrexians from Magic the Gathering. But because of the purple wash that I put on him, all of his bones and spines definitely give off a purplish Hive Fleet Leviathan look. So hopefully, me going through and finessing on this gray dry brush. Oh my goodness, I actually forgot to cut off a bit of sprue bit. That's okay, no one needs to know that. It will really read nicely as like white bone with dark purple shadow once I'm all done with them. But yeah, that's it. This is something I'm not particularly good at. I'm still really kind of learning how to do the dry brushing thing in a way that isn't just gross dry brushing to get rid of you know, dark spots on a mini. So it's a learning experience. Though I will say it is creating a really neat effect on him. And I think this brush is officially too big for what I want to do. So I'm going to put that down. And I'm going to use a smaller dry brush and see where that takes me. Where is my gray? There it is. But yep, otherwise not a whole lot. How's your evening going? How are things going for you? Or your day? I have no idea what time it is where you are, but I'd be fascinated to learn. I've usually got people from all over. So I've had people from Germany, from Britain, all the way out into, I think Finland was one of them, which really blows my mind. But yeah, I've just gotten through with a work day. I'm a school teacher by trade, so I had an back-to-school kind of orientation day, which went south very quickly because we're supposed to do a whole lot of paperwork and a whole lot of like seminars to get ready for the next school year so we can learn school policy and like the strategy for the year and the general mindset. But the power went out, so I spent a good amount of the day just kind of waiting for the power to go back on and hoping and praying, but it never really did, so felt like a real wasted day. But you know, I'm not in control of that. All I can do is take what they give me. Okay, needs more gray. And it really does't help, at least for me, that I just spent the weekend at a get-together with some friends. Well, actually, it's a friends group of friends out a couple of states away, which ended up being like a 7.5 or 6.5, 7 hour drive. And I drove both ways. So on Friday, I picked up a buddy and then drove an hour down to another city and picked up his friend. Doing pretty good, thanks. It's currently 21:18 in the UK here. Got home from work, finished the mini I've been working on, walked the dog. So yeah, really productive day. That's pretty cool. Sounds like you had a really good day. What mini are you working on? What fun creation were you able to finish today before walking your dog? I actually didn't really want the Tyranids. I was going to sell the entire box to someone who wasn't able to get the Leviathan box because I was really worried about scalpers and knew that I had a pretty good chance of getting the box since it was summer vacation for me. And it turned out I didn't need to worry, so I ended up with a second box. And what I ended up doing with it, it was a Blood Bowl Ogre. Oh, those are fantastic. Not to interrupt my own story, but, I bought a set of, Nurgle Blood Bowl, competitors, players, simply because I wanted to paint the gross fleshy bits on the Nurgle guys. So, I think they're called Nurgle's Rotters. So I went ahead and painted those up. And, I just kind of have them now. I was interested in getting into Blood Bowl, but the only other person that I'm friends with that would really be interested in doing so, he's not really financially able to branch into a game outside of 40K. And so he's kind of got to be a lot more discerning about his hobbies. But, one of my favorite things I've done with mini painting in general are those guys because, A, they're great sculpts, but B, that same friend, he finds scatological humor very funny, like poop humor. And it's not because he's emotionally immature or anything. It's that he used to work at care facilities for people who have mental disabilities, and it's usually the elderly. So he's had to deal with a lot of cleaning up after those kind of incidences, and his ability to be disgusted by it is kind of completely turned off and has been replaced with humor. And so he finds poop jokes funny, is the long and short of it. But I decided that since they're Nurgle's Rotters, and since they're supposed to be gross and uncouth and disgusting, is that every single one of them looks like they are shitting themselves. And so I have a football team that has en masse pooped their pants. And we both got a huge kick out of that, so that made them very worth painting. That, and of course, just the general sculpts are fantastic. They're you know, big and slovenly, and they have all the great fleshy bits and the distended gore. Yeah, I just ended up using some dirt terrain to do that, and it turned out really good, and it's great for a LARF. And if he ever does get into Blood Bowl, I think he's going for the dwarves because of their proclivity for ale and beer, and they just got those great look. I mean, you know, Games Workshop does all that great visual stuff. That's where he would go. And at some point, we'll get together and be able to play a Blood Bowl. But right now, it's just not in the cards. So I have a group of zombies shitting their pants, and he has something to laugh at whenever he passes by my display case. Yeah, this white is definitely helping sell. I wish I knew how to keep it on camera. But yeah, that white is definitely helping push the highlights on this purple and gray. So I wasn't worried for nothing, but definitely nice to see it actually turn out okay. Let's see, get a little bit more off of that. I wish I could get a palette cam, but right now I don't have a lot of money for getting the web cameras. So I've been using my cell phone cam instead. And that's useful. It's okay for what it is, but it's not exactly the best method. And I can't really split the camera up too well. So unfortunately, the palette cam is going to have to be for another day. Am I on camera? I'm on camera. A friend of mine has the Dark Elf team, and their name is the Abusement Park Raiders. Oh, that's fantastic. I love pun work. Puns are some of my favorite types of jokes. I'm an English teacher. I think I mentioned that already. But I teach a bunch of very disaffected high school students. And they really don't like being there. They really don't like being in the English class and all that fun stuff. But what I found out is that if I'm corny enough and I'm lame enough, then they'll at least get a kick out of poking fun at that. You know what I mean? So I've taken to doing bad puns and dad jokes and that stuff as often as I can, simply to get them to have some kind of reaction. And they tend to appreciate that the humor in the room is more based off of, you know, poking fun at the teacher in a not cruel way versus the teacher trying to prove how cool they are by putting down the kids. So it all works out pretty nicely. And I think I'll be honest with you, I think I might have hecked this guy up a little bit because the purple is so striking underneath the gray and the white that the white highlights aren't showing up as well as I would like. I don't know, does he sell as white to you? Or does he still have a lot of, like, purple undertone that pushes him into a cooler, like, purple color? I have another mini that I did that I feel I used Nuln Oil on the bone area instead, and he just came out looking kind of gray. So I didn't like that look as much, and I'll eventually get back to him and I'll fix him. But I was going to try and see how kind of a chalky white would look over, you know, the purple wash. I have my doubts, but I suppose when I step away from it and look at it again, I'll get a much better idea of how good or how bad it is. Yeah, very pale gray with a very slight purple undertone. Okay, that's not too bad then. If it's coming across, because it looks very washed out on my OBS studio window, and I'm under a fairly prominent light right now, so everything's a little bit washed out. But if it's coming across as like a super pale gray with a purple undertone, that is kind of what I'm going for. So I didn't think I was ever going to get back up to the ivory white that they have in some of those shots. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if you play Magic the Gathering at all, but I don't need those. I have a specific visual cue that I'm going off of. Warhammer photos. Leviathan. No, that's Leviathan instructions. Phyrexian Tyranids. Yeah, these guys. This is kind of what I'm going through, Virgil. You've been playing since Alpha. I'm not surprised. I didn't start playing. The to-do list is wrong. What have I done? I started playing around Ixalan, an Hour of Devastation. So I'm far more of a new blood than you. But in New Phyrexia, or Phyrexia All Will Be One, they definitely went more of like a rich red under like, you know, a pale bone color. And that's kind of what I'm trying to emulate with these guys. And this is what I've got so far. I'm gonna move that slideshow just a little bit. Move that up in center. This is what I've got on this guy so far, and you can see he's not quite got the purple undertone, but that's because I used a Nuln Oil instead of Druchii Violet. But I felt like this left it very flat. It made it look like I just put a Zenithal over it instead of an actual, you know, tri-brush. So I'm probably going to go back and do something with the little vents in his smokestacks, then do something with the smoke, touch him up a little bit more. But overall, I really like how it looks. I think it's really striking on the battlefield. But I just wasn't quite sure. But now, definitely seeing it against that, I think I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. We're gonna take this and put it here. That should be good. Yeah, I think I'm pretty okay with that, which means he's done for now. Actually, let's hit that one more time. So what do you think of Magic the Gathering and Wizards going through all of this Universe Beyond expansion, and their much more aggressive reprint strategy, and their much more aggressive, like, premium collector spend more money strategy? Have I tried contrast paints? Yeah, I have. I've got a couple of Games Workshop ones, or Citadel ones, and I bought a starter set of Army Painter. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with them. Like, I know what they can do, and I think what they do is really cool, but I at times don't feel like it gives me the amount of control that I would want for the paint that I'm doing. Now with this guy, he's obviously going to be a lot more fast and loose, because, to be honest, the Tyranids aren't my army. They were just leftovers from the Leviathan box that I really wanted to paint because I thought they looked neat. So, I'm kind of doing these a little fast and loose, and once I eventually find a rhythm, I'll go back and touch them up a bit, is my general plan. Why, what do you recommend I do with the contrast paints? Okay, gonna go ahead and clean that one off. Give it kind of a fresh start. In the wash. Okay, that can just sit there. Honestly, I'm not a fan. I used to like the older Wizards where they looked after the community, and the sad thing is now they're doing the same way with D&D. Yeah, I feel like being beholden to Hasbro has really, especially with the big popularity now and how it's kind of become the cash cow, I feel like it's they're starting to lean into it way too hard and do things that market well but don't actually show a lot of, I don't want to call it love for the product, because there probably is still a lot of love for the product, but it just feels like, especially this next year, they're moving away from making it a game about Magic the Gathering and turning it into a game that lets you use things that aren't Magic the Gathering. Like, I think this next calendar year, they're going to have, for the Striking Red, I would try a 50-50 Flesh Tearers Red and Voluptuous Pink. That would give it a super rich red. Don't have those colors, unfortunately. I use primarily Vallejo. So I'll have to kind of look at what they are. And then I think what I'm going to do, because they should call it Magic the Cash Cow. I think they're going to end up calling it Magic the Fortnite, to be honest. Because that's what it's turning into, or Super Smash Brothers Brawl or something. I do need to go back and dry brush the red, which I think is going to help make it a lot more brilliant. But right now I'm just kind of working on the Bone Carapace. But you can see, especially with him, how purple he is to start off. And how much it kind of lightened up and became more of a shadow feature. Whoops, with this guy. So hopefully I can continue doing that. I'm going to go ahead and remove the... Where'd he go? Oh, I just realized my Automata is not working. Hold on. Where'd the slideshow go? There's the slideshow. One moment, please, because I actually have a little guy that should be talking alongside. And hopefully I'm not going to absolutely ruin the stream audio. Okay. There, he should be in the corner now, popping up. You use Vallejo a lot, but the contrasts are great to use as a heavy pigment filter. Yeah, that makes sense. Am I coming through double now? Or is everything still okay? Because I think OBS is trying to use the audio input capture, and I know for a fact that Discord... Okay, all coming through good? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okie dokie. So let's go with a little bit more gray. Do what I can to dry out this this dry brush that I have allowed to get wet. Gather up as much of that gray as possible. Knock off as much of it as possible. And let's put this guy, let's get this guy working. There we go. So this is the first pass with the light gray that I'm going to be using. And I want to get fairly heavy coverage across this guy. But yeah, I've noticed with Magic the Gathering in particular, there's been a really big issue with it kind of pushing away more established players who liked what it was in favor of trying to draw in as many people as they can. And, you know, try and get the whales, the people who are willing to spend a ton of money on the collectibles, while pulling in more new blood by using as many other IPs as possible. And I mean, it's a bold strategy, and we'll see if it works. It seems to be working so far, but doesn't mean I have to enjoy it, right? And I'm kind of sad that that's where it's going. Okay, let's see. Let's get this one right here. And I mean, I guess I'm kind of happy I got into Warhammer when I got into Warhammer, because it seems like everything's going wrong with Warhammer all the time, so I can't really be in a position of, hey, remember when Warhammer was good? But I'm a fairly new hobbyist with Warhammer. I started in 2020. It's a quick cash grab. People will eventually wise up to it. That is fair, but I think it really depends on what they do, because it seems like Wizards is pretty good at pivoting. Like, they go through their quarterly, monthly, yearly strategy, and then kind of try and reevaluate what to do, right? Like, the Master Sets disappeared for a little while when they realized that they were just pissing off the fan base. And they came back in a way that was at first pretty well received, and then they realized they were pissing off the fan base again. Or they'll realize they're pissing off the fan base again, and then maybe they'll shelve it again for a bit and reevaluate. Who knows? And I don't know. It depends. For me, it just kind of depends on what their goal is right now for their quarterlies or their monthlies, or however the heck they decide the approach that they're going to have for a period of time. Because from what I understand, I mean, yeah, it's a cash grab, and yeah, it definitely is all about making money, because that's what they're in the business to do. But, like, from what I understand, the last Lord of the Rings set sold quicker than, like, any other set before it. It was the best-selling set within a set period of time after its release of all time. And until their numbers dip off in a precipitous manner, they have no reason to change, right? So, unless they do something horrifically egregious that completely alienates their entire fan base, they're probably not going to need to change too much. Even if it doesn't end up going in a direction that either of us personally enjoy, I suppose. But I don't know. I feel like the fact that they're inundating the market with so many products, which in itself is their way of compromising, I guess, because, you know, if you don't like the Universes Beyond, then you can go for these other products that might be more to your liking. And if you do like the Universes Beyond, well, here's some other products that might be more to your liking. It seems to be a pretty smart strategy, but it just feels like I can't focus on the game anymore because there's just too much happening. And it's all being released like it's coming out of a clown car. I think for the Lord of the Rings set, it was all about FOMO with the One Ring card. I think sales will plummet now that it's been found. That is also very true. There was definitely a big thing about finding that card. And there's a good chance that that severely artificially blew up sales numbers. So, I suppose we will see. I mean, like I said, it's not like one bad set is going to ruin them financially. They'll course correct when they need to course correct. I might have put way too much gray on his chest. But that's okay. It's a fairly prominent part of his body. It'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know business. I'm not a business guy. I'm not Mr. Business. I am but a humble teacher who paints bugs. And right now is going through a fairly gentle process of dry brushing. I don't even know, am I on camera still? Yeah, I'm perfectly on camera. Fantastic. Now, I will admit, the One Ring strategy, I mean, I don't think they're going to do that again. I think they're really well aware of the very limited legs that a gimmick like that would have. But, I've got to give them all the credit in the world for basically making people believe a piece of cardboard was worth $2 million. You know what I mean? That's just the amount of coverage that brought to the game, and the amount of exposure that brought to the game, and the potential vast number of people who now own cards from the game and can play it. I don't know if you can buy that kind of publicity. So good for them in that way, I suppose. It's not, again, not really the way I would prefer they go. I really like their, you know, copyright adjacent claims that they were doing a lot more than them just straight ripping from copyrighted IPs. But it's their game, I suppose, and at the same time, I don't have to play it. I am interested to see what new planes they're going into. Oh, going back to Warhams real quickly. I'm an Imperial Fist player, and have you seen the new Horus Heresy Praetor Captain Terminator dude that they're putting out? because it was just I think it was just dropped yesterday or the day before, and I was tickled because I was like, oh, it's their old Terminator captain from the Horus Heresy. They just put him in a more static pose. Because in the old one, he used to be like advancing with the shield braced in front of him, and it's a really dynamic, heroic pose. And in the new one, he's just kind of standing in open challenge. And they have enough universes they can draw from with Magic and D&D. They should stick with that. Yeah, and I agree with you pretty much 100%. Like, I liked the Warhammer ones, the Warhammer Commander decks, but I still thought they were dumb. You know what I mean? It was cool seeing the crossover, but ultimately I still thought they were dumb. Because even though I went ahead and bought the Imperium deck, and gameplay-wise, it's like, okay, they tried to capture the flavor of the 40k of the Imperium. It still feels weird and silly, and in like a not good way. Because, you know, there's a lot of Magic the Gathering that feels weird and silly in a good way, but it didn't when I was playing with the 40k decks. It was cool that they were as powerful as they were, and that they had those neat mechanics that they're eventually going to lift and put on other cards, but it's like that could have been a perfectly serviceable Magic the Gathering set. Like a commander set for the quarter or something. I don't know. But, I like his pose. I don't like that he's actively replacing the old one. Because turns out that that's exactly what's happening. The original Tartaros Praetor is sold out and no longer available online. So I think they're cycling him out in favor of the new, less dynamic pose. As a Fist player, I could have done without it. I like the original one more. I have the original one. I bought him a few months ago, and I painted him up real nice. And I feel like this one's just kind of meh in comparison, so I'm sad that he's going to be the replacement model. But from what I understand, scale-wise, the old one was fucking huge. And the new one is not. He's much better scaled. And I don't know, not my thing. I do like the Evander Garius model from the Siege of Chthoniya, because he looks like Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. And so I need to get that model so I can have Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead in my 40k army. Okay. I don't know, I forget. Which armies do you play? Because I'm pretty sure I've asked this before and you've probably answered it. But this last few months have kind of gone like a blur. So my brain's blanking. Yeah, and that's exactly why I need to have him in my army. Just need to put him in a Land Raider and put a sound chip in the Land Raider that just plays the Ace of Spades, and make it so that it's attached to a motor so I can have him, like, barrel down the battlefield. Because that would be hilarious. But yeah, you mentioned that you were doing an Ogre Blood Bowl mini, which I thought was pretty cool. What other armies you do? What is your poison in the Warhammer world? Apparently fantasy is part of it, which I'm not very familiar with. I don't know much about Warhammer Fantasy because I got into Warhammer around the time that Age of Sigmar 2, like 2nd edition, was becoming a thing. So like Warhammer Fantasy lost on me. I don't really play much 40k. I have some Guard and some Carcharodons, but mostly Necromunda, Blood Bowl, and D&D. I've never played Necromunda before, and I'm so fascinated with what Necromunda is, because I've looked up some of the rules and I've listened to the big appeal of it, and I'm down for it. I think Necromunda looks awesome, but at the same time it just feels so incredibly granular that I'd feel like I'd get overwhelmed. How does it feel in comparison to playing, say, D&D or playing 40k on opposite ends of the spectrum? How does Necromunda feel? And also, what are your armies for, or what are your gangs for Necromunda? That's the big question. Okay, let's highlight this further. I've been trying to get back into D&D, but I just really haven't had it in me. I usually DM, and I've just been so anxious about doing it that I've really not wanted to. But I will eventually, because my party is stuck in the Underdark. And they've been stuck in the Underdark for like a year and a half now, even though I think only 8 days has passed in game time. So I need to get them the hell out of the Underdark. It's way too long to be stuck in a hole. Okay, go ahead and line that up. Go ahead and line that up. There we go. A little bit of that lined up. A little bit of that. A little bit more of that white. Yay, Forever DMs. Hey, Tabiko, how's it going? I feel like we haven't chatted in a long-ass time because I haven't been online to chat with. How are you doing? I am exhausted. I just got back from a trip to Ohio. You play Goliath and Orlok. That's really neat. I'm forgetting which one Orlok is. I think I'm thinking of Delaquay, which is the ones with the super weapons. And Van Sar, do they do the poisons? I don't know. I forget which ones are which. You're doing. That's good to hear. Rather hear you're doing versus not doing. Other way around? Okay, well at least I was close. I got partial credit. But yeah, I actually, I don't have any paint on this. Just realized I knocked the paint off. I ended up buying an Escher Gang set not too long ago because I was super interested in the minis. Like, I think the Splatterpunk aesthetic is so iconic. And it was something I grew up seeing a lot when I was a kid. And I remember thinking those are the coolest ladies in the world. So having the Escher Gang doing essentially that, it just, it gave me the good brain juice. And I had to buy them. And I've put them together. And then I haven't painted them because I've gotten lazy. So that's another thing I need to get done before I continue to buy more things. Is I need to finish painting my Escher Gangers. So I can at least say I finished that. Okay, let's go ahead and do the shell. And I guess the good news about this mini is because it's all kind of chitinous, it's all kind of, you know, crab-like and metallic, is that it doesn't have to be perfect texture-wise. Your wife plays Escher? So how do they play? I know that they're hyper-aggressive and they've got all sorts of chems to work with, but I don't know much else about them. Like, I've only heard the broad strokes. I feel like they need to make another Necromunda game. I think a Necromunda game would actually make a good, like, arena shooter, to be honest. But that's just me and my little uninformed opinion. Poisons and combat drugs. So a bunch of coked out, stoided up, crazy ladies. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I've got one or two. Where are they? No, she's not done. She's done. She's partially done. I've got this lady right here. She was the first one I did. I actually ended up using, I think, Jose Da Vinci's primer on how to do good flesh tones and how to try and get good highlights. So she's got a lot of very specific highlighting done on her like her body and her clothing and whatnot. Thank you. And this was my second attempt, if you can see it. There it is. And this is where I kind of tailed off. I ran out of time and started getting interested in other things. So hopefully I'll get back to painting them all. And they'll all look great. And then I'll never play them because I don't have friends to play Necromunda with. Okay. So this guy got a little smudged in some places, but that's a-okay. He's gonna look great when I finish with him, because this is just a pass to get a highlight on them. Eventually, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do other things with their bodies to make them look a little better than just red blob, white blob color patterns. Oh man, I'm very tired. Like I was saying, I went to Ohio for a small get-together with a bunch of my friends. It was my first time going there. And for me, that was a 7-hour drive to Ohio, and then an 8-hour drive back because we took a detour. And then I had to go to work today. So I'm definitely feeling the pain right now of being exhausted. Well, let's see. Eventually should do his teeth, right? He's got those crazy little eyes going on. Now, when I first painted him, I guess I wasn't paying very close attention. But I'm pretty sure this is meant to be bone plating, is it not? Like this bit right here? I feel like that was supposed to be bone plating. And of course I'm going to need to paint this a different color. I'm probably going to do like a white over this part, and then do a kind of a contrast painty wash with blue to make it look like energy is starting to thrum through the throat for his big screamy kill. And of course, I think I'm gonna have to do some more stuff like in here, some tendons and whatnot. I'll figure all that out later. I just wanted to get some paint on these guys and get them somewhat ready. Though I do think, just for kicks and giggles, do I have any more? Nah, it's all dried out. Let's get some teeth done on him, shall we? I have this shitty brush that I've trimmed down to an attempt at a point, and I now just kind of use it for bulk paints. We're gonna go ahead and brush on some teeth. Give him some big, angy teeth. Hey, Tabiko, did Nady ever pick up the chest package? Now that I think about it, because that was something I did back in, like, right after Valentine's Day? In February? I don't recall. But I definitely remember having that done. And the last time we talked about it, you mentioned that they still hadn't picked it up from the post office or their P.O. box. Not yet? Good granny. Well, I hope that when they do get it, like, they might have forgotten about it entirely, so they'll see it and they'll be like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. And I hope it makes their day. Their friend picked it up from the P.O. box, at least. Well, that's good. So, progress has been made. That reminds me of the nacho cheese incident with my buddies. When I was in college, I had a set of friends who I hung out with a lot. And, also it's in safe hands, presumably. That's good. And I remember one time I went over to their house, and I made, like, one of those horrible concoctions of nacho cheese. And I don't know if you guys are aware of like, cheap-ass college nacho cheese. But it's basically a canned diced tomato with chilies, chopped chilies, made by a company called Rotel. And then you just add blocks of that Velveeta cheese, which is basically plastic, and then you melt it in a microwave or over a stovetop, and it makes a fairly creamy, gooey, very distinct flavored nacho cheese for, like, chip and dip, right? And so I made that for my friends, and I brought it over, and we ate it, and it was fine, but there was a decent amount left over, and I just kind of forgot it as I left. And many months later, one of my friends was like, hey, Benry, I need to get you back your nacho cheese. I was like, what nacho cheese? And they reminded me, and I went, oh, wait, you still have the nacho cheese? And they went, yeah, we still have the nacho cheese. The other friend and I have just been kind of bringing it back and forth whenever we hang out with each other, because you left it there. And it's not even a matter of eating it anymore. We stopped trying to a while ago, but it's just been in this bowl covered in plastic wrap for like 2 months. And we've just been bouncing it back and forth between apartments. And, yeah, that was disgusting. They eventually gave it back to me, and it was just kind of a brick. It didn't smell bad, there was no mold. It was just a brick of cheese and tomato. Because they were just as weird as I am, is probably my best guess. But the fact that it was still well preserved was deeply upsetting, because it was like, we've been putting that in our stomach. we eat this. Not necessarily that specific bowl, but we've eaten quite a bit of that nacho cheese before. Okay, I think that'll do. Nope, I've still got the inside of the wing to do right there, where I couldn't get it with my dry brush. And yeah, good Lord, why is a great reaction to that moment, because that was exactly... Well, now the stomach is well preserved. You're right, it's got a protective coating of this cheese and Rotel tomato mixture. So my stomach lining will never die. I will always be well preserved. Speaking of stomach lining never dying, when I was in college, I like to do... I got really into watching, like, the Food Network, which, I don't know if you have that, not in the United States, but it's exactly what it sounds like. It used to be a place where you could go and watch food shows, and then it kind of became beholden to reality TV and that whole algorithm. So the shows stopped being about cooking and started being about, like, going to different restaurants and that kind of thing. And during that time period, I really got into... I crave the strength and certainty of Velveeta cheese. That's a very good way of putting it. But I found on the Travel Channel there was a similar show called Man vs. Food, which was about a guy who later turned out to be a raging asshole, but he would go to different states and different cities, and he would go to these big eateries where they would have, like, you know, big hearty road food type things, and he would eat them and talk about them, kind of like, you know, Guy Fieri. But then at the end, he would do a food challenge in that local area. And so I became obsessed with this idea of doing a food challenge. And he had a couple. He would either do really spicy foods or large quantities of foods, right? And in one of the first season episodes, he did a challenge at a place called Quaker Steak and Lube, which has one of the most upsetting restaurant names I've ever heard. And what it was it was a hot wing place, where they would make little buffalo wings and really spice them up. All I could do is teeth. And they had the Quaker Steak and Lube Atomic Hot Wing Challenge. And the point of the Atomic Hot Wing Challenge was they had a special hot sauce that was, I think they measured it at 150,000 Scoville heat units. And to give you an idea, I think a chili pepper is at like 10,000 Scoville heat units. So he did that challenge and succeeded because it was an early season and it was all great and good. And when I was in college, a few months later, I found out that we were getting a Quaker Steak and Lube. And so I got real excited because I wanted to do this challenge. And I wanted to see if I could equal this, you know, TV celebrity. And a couple months later, the place opened. And I went in there and I found out they had the triple Atomic Hot Wing Challenge. And the original challenge, 150,000 Scoville heat units. The triple Atomic Challenge was 500,000 Scoville heat units. And I decided that's the one I'm going to do, because if you do the challenge, you get a t-shirt. And a t-shirt is the perfect amount of bribery I need to put my body into incredible physical distress. So I went ahead and did the challenge and ended up eating all 6 wings in about 2.5 minutes. It was either 6 or a dozen, I don't remember. I do remember that the first bite, the wing was very good. It was real nice and tart, and it had that sweetness that good spice does. And then it was pure and utter burning fire. And it got to a point where, as I was eating and trying to swallow one of the wings, my body just kicked it back up. Because it was telling me, under no circumstances am I supposed to have that amount of pain happening in my mouth. But I finished it all really quickly. And the manager even came by and told me that they managed one of those stores, one of the restaurants at the state capitol, and they had never seen someone as comfortable looking as I was after the challenge. And it was because it hadn't quite penetrated my stomach lining. So I suppose the Velveeta cheese wall just completely melted under that amount of acid. And then my body felt nothing but fire for like 7 hours. But I got a t-shirt, and I still have that t-shirt. So I guess I won. Okay. So if I remember right, Borat, you suggested a little while ago that I should mix two colors, and I don't remember which ones they were. But you said they would give me a really nice, vibrant red on top of the darker red that I already have. Because right now, I think all this is a combination of Vallejo Game Extra Opaque Heavy Red, and then me using Druchii Violet as a wash over it. That's literally all it is. So, I suppose I should do something with this, because otherwise it's going to continue looking pretty dark. For the striking red, I would try a 50-50 Flesh Tearers red and Voluptuous Pink. That will give it a super rich red. Okay, I'm going to have to remember that, because that is going to be really good. I'd like for the red on these guys to pop a little more. I have I don't remember what they're called, one of the Neurogaunts, and I did a lot more like specialty stuff with him, but I feel like he came out looking very dull still. So I think I'm gonna follow your advice, and I'm gonna mix like a pink and a red together to see if I can get a more vibrant red that pops off the mini versus this kind, which feels a little dull for my liking. But that being said, I am going to stop a little early today, because I want to get back on the wagon, and I want to get back to, oh, hey, Snow Twig. I did that on my Blood Knight armor from Age of Sigmar. I painted that over a silver dry brush, and I bet that looks fantastic. I'm really sorry, Snow Twig. It's good to see you. Actually, you know what? I can hang out for a little bit longer, but I don't think I'm going to do too much more painting. I'm really tired. I think, what is it, 15 hours of driving over 2 days, and sleeping on a couch over the weekend. Yes, I'm painting some bugs. I'm painting some Tyranids from Leviathan, and I based them off of the Phyrexians from the newest Magic the Gathering sets about the Phyrexians. And I was just getting some really good advice on how to really make the red pop on them, because right now the red is very dull, or it's very dark, and so it kind of blends in a little too much and creates a little bit too heavy a contrast. But it's good to see you again. How have you been doing? I haven't been online very much because I've been busy. Part of it is that the cat that I adopted is we couldn't leave him alone upstairs for a little while, and that meant I needed to be upstairs longer to hang out with him to make sure he was okay. But now he seems to be doing fine. He's definitely finding new and creative ways to piss off our other cat. And they're getting to the point now where they're familiar with each other, and now they can kind of play and really harass each other. And I think it's just hilarious, because I've never owned 2 cats before. I've barely ever owned 1 cat before. You're doing okay, you guess? Nothing too interesting to report in on? I think the only thing I've mentioned it multiple times now, I got to go to Ohio to hang out with some new people that are friends of a friend, but the entire thing has left me exhausted. I did get to play some 40k though, and that was kind of neat. We got to play some 10th edition with a lovely other VTuber. I need to get this back on screen. Who I didn't know her personally, but she was there on invitation from one of the other members of the group who has his own VTuber personality. And she really wanted to show off and play her Eldar. So I brought my Imperial Fists, and everyone else was busy doing something else, like playing another board game or whatever. So I decided to volunteer, hey, you want to play some Warhammer? And then I got to see just how good Eldar are in 10th edition. And the answer is, they're really good. I don't like fighting them. Actually, I take that back. I had a lot of fun fighting them. That game felt like 2 armies throwing haymakers at each other and seeing who was going to blink first. And unfortunately, the Imperial Fists get a lot less rerolls than the Eldar, so I ended up blinking first and lost. But I had a great time, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all that matters. Okay. That's a little better, a little bit redder, but I think I can do even brighter. 10th is a whole lot easier to play than 9th. I don't know, I don't remember if you got any 9th edition gaming in, but one of the biggest problems with 9th tended to be how much... Are links allowed in chat? Yeah, sure. Links are definitely allowed in chat. If it's to something naughty, I'll probably delete it but instead of showing it, but I'll definitely take a look at it and post it if it's something super cool. What you got there? Oh, you got a Discord. Let's go here. Let's look at that. Yeah, that's super nice. I like that. Is a really good vibrant red. Okay, one moment. Search friend request. Pending. Sure, I'll take that friend request. Looks like an old one. Let's go ahead, and that's the color you get from that mix. It's a good color. I'm going to actually pop off this this image slideshow, get rid of all these Tyranid reference pictures, and cancel out of that. I need a window capture. Window capture. Window capture. Oh. Yeah, that's a pretty good red. It's a nice, vibrant red. I really like it. I really dig the highlights on there and whatnot. I think that's going to look really good, because as you saw with my Tyranids right now, they're a little bit dull. And I think the richness of the red that you're getting is going to look really good on them. So, that's pretty cool. I can't wait to get there. I'm not going to use the exact colors you did, but I think... What I've got right now, I've got, again, I think I mentioned it, I've got the heavy red, and I've got this base Rosa model color pink, and I also have some Citadel game color. Give me one moment, please. Let's see, what do I have here? I have, oh, not my word. I have Mephiston red, and I have Emperor's Children. And I don't know if those will get me close, but I'm going to mess around with it a little bit. Yeah, heavy red, I know. It's a really good one, too. I think that's why I switched to it. But these are the two I've got for this. So I might do a little bit of testing and then decide which one I like more. I've got a whole ton of Vallejo paints and dropper bottles, or not Vallejo, Citadel paints and dropper bottles that I just no longer use. Okay, it looks like I got pinged. Did I get pinged? I did not get pinged. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Oh, that's, okay, no, someone popped in. Hey guys, good to see you. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I think that's gonna have to be it for me though, simply because I'm really tired. I'm ready to stop. So I'm gonna see if there's anyone fun to raid, because I always forget to do that with the streaming aspect. So let's see, is there anyone fun online that I could send you guys over to? Or do you have any recommendations? Does anyone have any recommendations? Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm really sad because I box as a hobby, and one of the guys who was there does a lot of martial arts, including boxing, and he really wanted to spar just to kind of have someone to spar with. But then he pulled his calf muscle, and clearly was not going to do that, so I was really excited to get to mess around a little bit and fight in the yard. But just didn't end up happening. But maybe next year, because we're definitely doing this whole convention thing again next year. Or this get-together. But yeah, anyone got any suggestions on who I can hop off to? Or mayhaps... see what else we got. Let's see who we got. Okay. I'm gonna look through here. Smaller communities, featured art channels, VTubers. I'm gonna type in Warhammer. And not Warhammer. Warhammer. And see what we get for the miniature painting. Oh, someone's playing Inquisitor Martyr co-op. That's kind of neat. Oh wow, it really doesn't look like there's many people online. That's kind of... Or is it looking specifically for that? I think it's specifically looking for that. Oh well. I don't know. You guys got anyone that you think you could go to? Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Kilo and Lovesick are doing some art. I don't think I have... I'm not following Lovesick. I probably should. There he is. Let's give him a quick follow. I'm actually winding down right now, Atsumori. I've been streaming since I've only been streaming for about an hour, but I'm pretty exhausted. And actually, I was just talking about you. I had mentioned to these guys that I was supposed to spar someone over the weekend, but they unfortunately hurt themselves and weren't able to spar. So I don't have footage of Atsumori just beating the shit out of me in a lovely yard in Ohio.
The character's whole deal is that he's like...
Thank you for the follow.
Nationalistic, genocidal, social Darwinism.
What the? Oh, okay, that's what's happening there. We can ignore that. I hope so, because I can't wait to get footage, and I'll find a way to make it so that it has my frog face over it the entire time, while there's just glove at head over and over again. That being said, though, I am going to go ahead and hop off. I'm going to go ahead and... I think we should go ahead and raid Lovesick, because they're such cool people. So, let's do that, shall we? Let's see, is it /raid... loves... /raid... love... sick... like a dog. That'll work. Love sick... like a dog. I think I did that right. Mink? Invalid username. Did I spell it wrong? I need an adult, guys. I don't know what's going on. Thank you for the thank you. Oh, I did? Wait, let's see. We're gonna do that. /. I'm gonna learn the Twitch eventually. Invalid username. It's not letting me do... Oh, wait. I can do this. /raid. And then... one more time. Nope, that's still wrong. I feel like a grandpa. There we go. I got it. I didn't need the blip for it. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you guys later. Hopefully the raid will work, and then we can just yell anything. I don't care. Have fun, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.